A child's hand gently holds a flickering firefly. The distant sounds of a baseball game fade away, leaving only the crickets of an Arkansas night. A mother watches from the bleachers as her 6-year-old daughter Morgan sits by the car, emptying sand from her red and white sneakers. This was the last time she would ever see her. The other children return without her. When the mother calls her daughter's name, she hears only silence. In just 3 minutes, from a crowd of hundreds, Morgan Nick was gone. The only clue was a red pickup truck, seen pulling away into the darkness, leaving behind a mystery that would remain unsolved for decades. Before that silence, there was the sound of a baseball hitting a bat, a crisp crack echoing under the bright lights of the Wooford Field. Alma, Arkansas, in the summer of 1995, was a town filled with such sounds, the gentle rhythm of ordinary days. For 6-year-old Morgan Chantel Mick, life was made up of these simple moments. She was a little girl from the nearby town of Ozark, her smile showing the crowded teeth and silver caps common in childhood. She had a noticeable purple vein on her side, a tiny detail known only to her mother. On the morning of June 9th, she pulled on a green Girl Scouts t-shirt, blue denim shorts, and white leather sneakers. This was an outfit for adventure, a 40-mile drive with her mother, Colleen, to watch friends play a game under the vast open sky. The day held no foreboding, no shadow. The memory would later capture this scene. The sun-warmed metal of the bleachers, the scent of cut grass and evening air, the laughter of families woven into the fabric of a community that felt safe. Colleen Nick watched her bright, outgoing daughter immersed in the joy of the game. This was the world as it was, a world where children played in the growing shadows of a summer night, and the biggest worry was the sand in their shoes. The very normalcy of this scene, this last perfect snapshot before everything changed, would become its most haunting quality. It was a portrait of American family life, complete and whole, moments before a single violent tear altered its composition forever. The transition from day to night was gradual, the sky deepening from blue to a velvety black, lit by the stadium lights. As the clock approached 10:30 p.m., the game entered its final innings. It was then that Morgan, captivated by the flickering dance of fireflies, asked her mother for permission to join the other children in the grassy area near the parking lot. Colleen, keeping a watchful eye from the bleachers, nodded. The children laughed, their small hands reaching for the glowing lights. The scene reflected pure childhood joy. Then came a mundane ritual. They stopped to empty the sand from their shoes. Morgan sat alone on the gravel near her mother's car, focused on her red and white sneakers. It was in this vulnerable moment that a presence, noted earlier by witnesses, became clear. A shirtless man, barefoot, with salt and pepper hair and several days' worth of beard, was seen talking to the group. He now turned his attention to Morgan.
The other children, done with their task, ran back toward the bleachers and the game, briefly leaving Morgan alone. At approximately 10:45 p.m., as the final out was called and families began to gather their belongings, Colleen scanned the field for her daughter's green shirt. It was not with the other children. A cold realization began to creep in, pricking at the edges of the warm night as she walked to the parking lot. The space where Morgan had been sitting was empty. The only sign of her was the memory of her small form bent over her shoes. Then, a witness recalled the image of a dull red Ford pickup with a white camper shell, its windows covered, pulling away into the Arkansas night. The transformation was swift and complete. The cheerful chaos at the end of the game shifted into organized panic during a search. Within minutes, the Alma ball field complex was no longer a place for recreation, but the center of a nightmare. Flashlight beams swept across the grass in frantic, jagged arcs. Police radios buzzed to life, their coded language stark against the jovial shouts from minutes before. The initial search was a raw human response. Voices calling Morgan's name, friends and strangers looking under cars and into ditches, their faces marked with dawning horror. As the night progressed, the response became more systematic and grim. The sun rose on a scene now marked as a formal crime scene. The grassy area where fireflies had glowed was cordoned off with yellow tape. Helicopters thudded overhead. Dive teams entered nearby waters, moved by a silent, terrible hope. Canine units followed scents that seemed to disappear into the air. The most important piece of evidence was not found on the ground, but in a parent's home video, a grainy, silent few seconds of footage showing the red truck in the parking lot. Yet, despite the technology and manpower, the scene yielded nothing of Morgan. No scrap of her green shirt, no lost sneaker, no witness who saw a struggle. The complete lack of a trace was itself a profound and terrifying statement. The perpetrator acted with chilling efficiency, taking a child from a crowded place and leaving behind only emptiness, a silence louder than any scream. For years, the investigation was a vast net cast wide, pulling in over 10,000 leads. The red truck and the shirtless man were central to the case, their descriptions broadcast across the nation. The puzzle grew more complicated with events soon after. In the days following Morgan's disappearance, a man with a nearly identical description, driving a similar red truck, tried to abduct a 4-year-old girl in Alma and a 9-year-old in Fort Smith. The pattern was clear. The predator was bold. Yet without a name or a face, the trail went cold, sustained only by the relentless advocacy of Morgan's mother, Colleen, who founded the Morgan Nick Foundation. The case entered a long winter, its details revisited, but with no major breakthroughs. Then, years later, a persistent review of old files brought a new name into focus: Billy Jack Lynx. He was a convicted child sex offender who had lived in Crawford County at the time. The connection was shocking. Just 3 months after Morgan vanished, Lynx tried to abduct an 11-year-old girl in Van Buren, just 8 miles from Alma.
His vehicle was a red pickup truck with a white camper shell. He was arrested, convicted, and sent to prison, where he died in 2000. He had been a viable suspect hiding in plain sight, his crimes resembling the Alma abduction closely. For decades, he remained a ghost in the investigation, a man whose methods and location matched perfectly, but who slipped away, taking his secrets and leaving a family in agony. The turning point was not a dramatic confession, but a quiet, careful act of forensic work. Years after the abduction, investigators located a key piece of evidence: the actual red Ford pickup truck that belonged to Billy Jack Lynx in 1995. At an FBI facility, an evidence response team began a careful search of the vehicle's interior. Using special vacuums, they collected microscopic evidence trapped in its seams and crevices, a history of years filled with dust, fibers, and hairs. The following analysis was slow and deliberate, using DNA technology that did not exist in 1995. The results were clear. A single hair recovered from the truck matched the matrilineal DNA of Colleen Nick. The family confirmed that no one related to Morgan ever knew Lynx or entered his vehicle, making the presence of the hair scientifically inexplicable unless Morgan herself had been there. The final piece of evidence came in 2024. Tiny blue-green cotton fibers, analyzed with advanced spectrometry, were confirmed to match the fabric of a 1990s-era Girl Scouts t-shirt, identical to the one Morgan wore.
After 29 years, the circumstantial evidence became solid. This evidence formed an unbreakable chain, placing Morgan inside the truck of the prime suspect. It was the breakthrough that answered the question of who, yet it felt like a collapse. With Links long dead, the revelation caused painful, definitive closure that offered no justice, no trial, and no knowledge of her final resting place. The case of Morgan Nick remains an open, active investigation, a file that will never close until she is found. Officially naming Billy Jack Links as the abductor brought painful, scientific finality to one chapter while opening a deeper wound of loss. Morgan has never been found. However, her story did not end in that Alma parking lot. From the core of a mother's unimaginable grief grew immense force for good. Colleen Nick turned her pain into action, building the Morgan Nick Foundation into a national source of support for families of missing children. Her advocacy directly led to Arkansas's Morgan Nick Amber Alert system, a legacy that has saved many lives. The story of Morgan Nick is no longer just a mystery, it is a permanent part of our landscape, a reminder of a light taken away and the love that will not fade. The search for her continues physically, but in the hearts of a community and a nation, she is forever the little girl reaching for the firefly, a moment of fleeting light guiding others lost in the dark. The echo of a missing laugh, an empty space where a future should have been. For Morgan's family, the case has never grown cold. It is a quiet, persistent force against the passage of time. Her story, conceived on a summer night, became a legacy that goes beyond that Alma parking lot, inspiring a system that has since protected countless children. Her mystery is ours to bear. We leave you with this question: what do you believe happened to Morgan Nick? Share your thoughts in the comments. To ensure no story is forgotten, help us continue this mission. Like this video, subscribe to City Shadows Unsolved, and join our community in seeking answers for the missing.